Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Toonami Squad Sessions podcast. I'm your host, Sam at Sam0299. And with me today, we have the other Sam.
Hello.
We have Steve.
What's up?
And we have Logan.
Yo.
So, uh, y'all like us when we get outdated because I felt pretty stupid after the last podcast when we said a bunch of things, and not long after we record that, we get outdated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of
Like-
tradition
like-
by now.
yeah,
It
tradition.
honestly is tradition, like messing up the intro, which we didn't do this time.
Shit, we
So-
need to do it again. Roll it
Edit
back,
that
roll
out
it
so we
back.
can fuck it up.
Yeah.
Not too late. I already did the intro well. Not going back. Point is, stuff happened. A lot of stuff happened shortly after the last podcast. So we got some stuff to talk about, but first we got to do our tradition. What are we watching? So lately I watched the second season of To Your Eternity. I'm crying. And I'm also just like, how the hell are they making a season 3 when season 2 pretty final? What else? I have been watching I say I have been watching it, but I've only seen the first 2 episodes of the second season of Sonic Prime. It's pretty good. I like it. I don't know, like I'm just meh about it. And then I also saw something in theaters recently. What was it? It was Blue Beetle. Highly recommend. That was really good. The DC movie. Really good and very if you're Hispanic, you will definitely feel I don't want to say represented, maybe. Like the main character is Mexican American. I'm not Mexican. I'm Puerto Rican, but like point still stands. Really good. Highly recommend checking it out. Also, it has George Lopez in it, and I like seeing George Lopez in anything. He's like one of my favorite actors. So there was that.
Sadly, no scene with Lowrider.
All my friends know the lowrider. You remember that every night in your childhood at 3 a.m.
It's either that or Inuyasha. There's no separating the two. You woke up by George Lopez or Inuyasha.
So there was that, and then like one of the biggest like elephants in the room, live action One Piece that dropped recently, and I am so impressed and so happy that we finally managed to get a good live action adaptation of an anime. And it's for One Piece of all things, and it's actually kind of propelling One Piece into the mainstream, which is insane. Like no one ever thought that One Piece could be in the mainstream, but here we are. Like One Piece is doing good for itself. The live action show, Gear 5 spoilers, in the anime, and yeah, I'm trying to think what else. That is about it I want to say. I haven't seen a lot of anime recently. Oh, okay. Well, I'm keeping up with the simulcast. So like, I'm trying to what is that? New season of Bleach out. Fucking put Bleach on Toonami for the love of God, Viz. What are you doing? Bleach. What else? Oh, Atelier Ryza.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
I was waiting for that.
I was waiting for that. Okay, so like there was only one reason I was watching the show. Logan explained it right there. But I was just like, okay, maybe like what is this story about? And the show is just boring.
The story is
Like-
about a girl with thighs, and there's some other shit, but nobody actually pays attention to that.
From the way I interpret it is that it's just another mediocre video game to anime adaptation.
Very mediocre. Like it's literally like uneventful. like the recent episodes were pretty eventful, but not that grand. And I can only be entertained by Riser for so long before I'm like, man, this show's boring.
Well, the worst
And
part is you can't even claim that it was like due to them wanting to make more merchandise because there's already a crap ton of merchandise from the 3 games before the anime was even a thing. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
Even if it were, something you could claim for that, it's like that doesn't even make sense now.
So yeah, there was that, and then of course, because I'm about to get roasted to high heaven, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. I am so excited and also scared to death because we're at the one arc that I'm very afraid of, the Shibuya incident, and it's called the Shibuya incident for a reason, but I'm not going to say that.
Is it
But
because an incident happens in Shibuya?
I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. But yeah, that's all I've been watching. So, what about you,
Coming to
Sam?
Toonami, never.
I was waiting
I was
for it.
waiting for that. That was a good one. Well, I've been more or less busy playing Starfield. In any spare time that I have not playing video games, I work. And when I don't work, I normally just watch YouTube videos. And then when I want to actually watch TV, I've been watching Superman, which I have not finished yet.
My adventures with Superman.
Yes.
Oh man, you're gonna be spoiled then on this podcast.
I mean, it's Superman at this point, and I also saw some of the spoilers in one of our reaction channels. So, yeah.
Okay.
Whoops.
Uh, but it's whatever. I love the character of Superman a lot, but we'll get into that in a bit. Other than Superman, I've been watching Whose Line Is It Anyways? Great improv comedy show. If you've never seen it, it's just improv. It's just really funny. Good
I
half
used
hour
to
show.
I used to watch it a lot when I was a kid. And what's funny is too is that every year when I go to MomoCon, Saber Spark and a couple other cartoon YouTubers that I don't know always hold a "Whose Line Is It" panel, and it is literally like the funniest thing ever. Like I wish MomoCon would upload those panels, but like I look at their channel and they never do. But it's like amazing. Like if you ever find I don't it's probably not just MomoCon they do it in, like probably any convention Saber Spark goes to, you might do it, I don't know. But if you ever find yourself at MomoCon or any convention Saber Spark attends, be on the lookout if they do a panel like that because it's freaking
I'd
great.
like to go to MomoCon maybe next year. I don't know. That's all dependent on a bunch of factors.
Well, I'm not planning next year, but yeah. Anyway, getting off topic.
Other than that, I mean, we'll talk about Fully Cooley. I think that's it. It's just Fully Cooley, Superman, and Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Okay, Steve, what about you?
All right. So other than, your regular simulcast that's this season, Bleach or Zom 100 bucket list of delays.
I forgot to mention Zom 100.
I also forgot to mention Attack on Titan. I sat down and watched Attack on Titan. So.
Yeah, honestly,
but yet again, we'll get to
those,
that.
Yeah, but honestly, besides those, not much. Other than obviously live action One Piece. Everyone and their mother is currently watching that right now. Pleasantly surprised. My bar was literally the floor, but pleasantly surprised by it. Very happy by how it turned out. Will I say it broke the live action curse? No, I will not say that because we all know there's going to be others down the line that's going to be terrible. But anyway, I've decided to do something stupid and start One Piece from the very beginning.
You poor bastard.
Yes, and I kind of successfully did it in a way because I've finished everything up to what's it called, Skypiea, and I've seen everything in between. So now I'm just going to where Toonami is, which is start at Dressrosa, and just continuing from there.
Dressrosa. I can't wait for Toonami to get to that. Literally this week.
Yep, this week, Dressrosa. But yeah, other than that, nothing really. Other than watching my sports teams literally make me want to pull my hair out.
I've been seeing so many good Aaron Rodgers memes today. Oh, it's beautiful. Great shit.
Only the Jets. Thank God I'm not a Jets fan, even though my team lost by 40 on Sunday.
I'm a Bears fan,
yeah.
so it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard
I was mainly targeting the New York Red Bulls when I was saying that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, Logan, we leave it off at you.
So lately, aside from my usual like background noise when I'm working of watching no pixel GTA roleplay streams on Twitch, which is shockingly entertaining.
And now property of Rockstar Games.
Yeah, surprisingly, I did not expect that, and they haven't gutted it yet, but it's only been like 3 weeks, so
They
gotta give it some time.
They're probably gonna incorporate it into GTA 6, and then after they do that, then they're gonna gut them.
Yeah, then they'll completely destroy everything that makes it entertaining, and yeah, that'd be Rockstar in a nutshell. So that sounds about right. Otherwise, I've been watching in my usual, the second season of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds finished up last month. Best 10-episode stretch of Star Trek in like Star Trek history, as far as I'm concerned. So that was really good. Star Trek Lower Decks just kicked off its 4th season this last week. So watching that. Haven't watched any non-work anime much lately, other than stuff on Toonami. I did rewatch Gundam X over the weekend and yesterday because my internet was down for like 9 hours, and so I didn't have much else to do. But when you have a massive physical media collection, you don't have to rely on not having an internet connection. So it worked out pretty good.
Logan's the physical media man.
Yeah, I mean, I literally had friends calling me that were like, hey, I can't watch anything because all I have is a Netflix subscription or, Hulu or whatever. Can I borrow a movie? And so I was loaning out movies like a video store yesterday and I literally made people give me like a $20, like just $20 cash collateral in case they came back with my discs all screwed up, then I could keep their money and replace my discs. So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, that's about it. Gaming wise, I did replay Halo Reach on my Steam Deck about a week and a half ago. But that's been about it. I've been wanting to pick up Starfield, but I just keep looking at my current like free time, and I don't have hardly any. So maybe at some point, but yeah.
I guess if we're on the topic of games, I finished Tears of the Kingdom like a while ago. Like I say finished, but like the game's big, but at the very least, I finished the story after I felt like I was satisfied enough with the amount of stuff that I did in between. I then decided to play Majora's Mask because I have the expansion pass subscription, and I was like, I love Majora's Mask, so let me do my 10th 100% run of the game, because if you play Majora's Mask, it needs to be 100%, no questions asked. I mean, no questions. It's mandatory you do 100% in Majora's Mask, or else you're not playing the game right. And then I recently started up Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, on my PS5, and I have not played it since the first day, and I need to get back to it.
You have time for gaming?
Yeah. Also, going off what Steve said earlier, one of the other simulcasts I saw was Zom 100 bucket list of delays, and I'm just so mad because like this show looks amazing. I'm very intrigued and I want to see more, but it's like every time the gap for new episodes just gets longer and longer, and it's literally like to the whole point that they had to make a whole new schedule. And what's even crazier is that they couldn't even stick to that new schedule. They literally say an episode will be here Sunday, the whatever date, And then literally days before that Sunday, they're like, "Hey, it's Monday now." They did that 3 times, and I was saying it, and I'll say it here. I find it so amazing that this show, like, literally is supposed, like, or at the very beginning at least, it's supposed to like, like, essentially make fun of and mock exploitative workplaces that Japan be facing and like crunch culture and all that. Like, literally, like the whole first episode is like the guy like working at such a shitty job in like an exploitative corporation, and then like when he finally gets a chance to quit, he just goes insane. And I just find it funny the show literally goes out of its way to do that, to make fun of exploitative corporations and crunch culture, and yet I'm pretty certain the episodes are getting delayed for that very reason. Rant's over. I
Well,
just
you
had
know
to
what
say
they
that.
say, right? Write what you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
think
guess the one show I omitted was I finally had the time to finish JoJo Part 6, which was good.
All right, so I guess with all that out of the way, let's start moving into our topics. So, last podcast we gave our first impressions. At the time, only five episodes was out, but now the whole show's finished. So we can, well, the first season is finished, I should say. Uh, my adventures with Superman ended, and what did we think? I loved it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm not a huge DC nerd, like I mentioned that last time. Um, but I was pleasantly surprised. There were some moments that had me scratching my head. Like, I kind of didn't like that. Like in this first season, like not even like in episode 7, like we already start having multiverse stuff happening, and it's like it's DC. I know like multiverse stuff happens all the time, but it's like why this early in like the first season of a brand new spin on the Man of Steel? It's like, okay, yeah, we can have multiverse stuff, but save it for later. But no, like we got it this early. Now, I mean, to be fair, it was relegated to that one episode. They haven't touched it again, at least not yet.
I mean,
Um,
technically, they had Vicky Vale on in episode 8, I think.
well, no, okay, I guess I should clarify, like multiverse stuff, not like exactly like crossovers. Um, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I get what you mean.
and yes, Vicky Vale was in an episode, so I'm expecting a Batman show in the same universe. Please, for the love of God. Anyway, but other than that, I'm so happy with the show. And like, so some of my critiques, I guess, kind of went away with some of the later episodes. Um, I'm trying to think what else to say because it's like I'm not a good person talk like this is why I don't write reviews because I'm terrible at like saying what I like. But like I just really love the show. That's all I have to say. So what does everyone else have to say?
I liked it. I think in terms of Superman media, I mean, I didn't get too far into like the live action Superman shows like Smallville or Superman and Lois and whatever. So I have no frame of reference, but I did as a kid love watching Superman, the animated series. I also remember the Fleischer Studio shorts. And
Yeah,
those are just great characterization.
one of the first things to air on Toonami back in '97.
Mm-hmm. Those are just great characterizations of what the Man of Steel is. Like, I think in more recent years, DC has gotten that character terribly wrong, and people now have a different impression of Superman.
Why,
Which
yes,
I
look at my
think,
comment section.
yeah, it's just like I think if you, I like this interpretation a lot because it's appealing more to modern sensibilities than what I grew up with, because those were appealing more towards people who watch stuff like Batman the Animated Series for the Superman 90s cartoon, but it's like Superman, not Batman, obviously. But I think for, I guess my only like criticism of it is that I think of its anime art style to be unappealing to me. That's just a
It,
personal art style preference thing.
it's
I was
from the
never really too. Yeah, it's from the same team who did Korra and Avatar, The Last Airbender. I know this is the same staff. This is the same animation studio and Studio Mer. That team just really likes working in that art style. Cool, good for them. I just personally find it kind of unappealing from my perspective. I just don't like that Americanized anime art direction. That's just a personal thing. And it's nothing against the people who work hard on that show. That's just a personal preference. But other than that, it's a good show. It's a good interpretation of the Man of Steel. If you like DC, you just like Superman, check it out. It's a good show. It's only 10 episodes right now.
season 2 is confirmed.
Well, it's been confirmed since it was announced. So there you go.
One other thing I do have to say, I said this last time, but it's I archive Toonami stuff. So when I upload Superman stuff, I just see the most insane comment sections. And it's like literally the perfect example of tell me you don't get Superman without telling me you don't get Superman. Oh, they finally made villains that can attack him, and he's not OP like in every other show because of the lazy writers. Shock! Literal comments in
Do
my
you
like
guys
whenever
even
I
like know do you like those people who write those comments have never watched any Superman media because there is plenty of foes that have laid hands on Superman before, with and without kryptonite.
No, and then like there was also people that were getting mad at like how some of the villains are portrayed. Like, oh, they made one of the villains a whiny rich boy, and oh, they, like someone literally said, oh, like they really made the villains like whiny rich boys and angry lesbians and all that. And then like
Sounds like Superman.
and then people were complaining about the way Lois
I
looks, and I'm
will
like,
say this. I do like some of the twists on the classic DC villains that they have in there. Like Parasite is in this show. Not exactly the same character from the comics or from the 90s Superman show, which kind of explains like this is its own universe. It's trying to do its own thing, and I appreciate that. Some of it
yeah,
does feel like they want to have a connected universe in this little thing because that whole multiverse with is it Minx, I think.
Ms. Pitamick or whatever. Like I forgot what it
Yeah. So
was. Yeah. And then people were complaining the way Lois looks, and I'm just like, why?
excuse
I
me.
mean, for the love of God, like,
She's very attractive. Excuse me.
exam. I was about to get to that. I was gonna be like Lois, and then I was waiting for Logan. Yeah. By the way, you didn't see the last podcast because I left a shout out for you. I was just gonna. I literally said Lois with like 2 seconds of silence, and I was gonna wait for you to say ma'am, like just message me, and I never got that message, and I'm so sad.
Last podcast.
Like the
I
last recording,
I
like
I had a
when it
family
was me.
emergency to deal with, so I couldn't be there.
No, I'm not saying you not being there. I just meant like I left a shout out for Logan, and he didn't want it, so he never
Oh, okay.
responded to my shout out.
So I'm
Anyway,
sorry, I haven't had time.
Steve, what did you think? What did you think of Superman?
Admittedly, I am not a big DC guy either. I'm going to put that out there right now. Regardless, I liked it. I had a good time, and that's more of like a social standpoint, like a social media standpoint. Like we've seen a lot of, at least in the past, a lot of adult swim shows air on Toonami, not getting too much traction, right? Well, I saw something a little different with this one. Like, it definitely took off more than I expected it would, from a popularity standpoint. Like,
Well, it's Superman, so like, yeah.
That is true, and not just that. It's been at least from what I've seen, very well received from not those people who complain about literally everything, but people who actually just trying to enjoy a good show. If that makes any sense at all. But yeah, I don't got a lot of comments on my adventure Superman. I thought it was a great time. I liked it. I'm glad it aired on Toonami, and yeah, I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, like finally DC content on Toonami that's not just a movie night to celebrate a movie coming out. Logan, did you see Superman?
Yeah, I didn't. Most of the time, I didn't get to catch it when it was airing on the block, but I managed to watch it in little chunks afterwards, and I really liked it. I go kind of back and forth on DC stuff. Like, I'm definitely a big fan, like especially when it comes to Superman. Like, in my opinion, no one has ever topped Christopher Reeve as Superman. Like the original late 70s movie is, I mean, the tagline on that movie was "You will believe a man can fly," and like that movie is Superman for me. And so the thing that I liked so much about this, and I mean, granted, the like the Superman animated series in the 90s was definitely, it had its moments of, up and down as far as like how dark it would tend to get. But like the thing I liked about this was it felt more upbeat, and like I'm a big fan of Jack Quaid also. Like he voices one of the main characters on Star Trek Lower Decks, and I love the energy he brings to the characters that he plays. And he was such a great choice for Superman because I know that when they went into writing this show, they wanted to depict more of like the earlier days of, Clark and Lois and Jimmy. And so like, Jack Quaid just brought such a good energy to Clark. It felt, the whole thing felt so much more upbeat to me. And, especially with how dark everything has been going. I mean, whether you like the Snyderverse or not, it obviously has its fans, but, and yeah, it skews darker, and, it had its good moments, it had its bad moments. And I wanted something that felt more like, giving Superman that sort of Boy Scout feel, and like I said, like he felt like in the original movie in the 70s. And that's why I really enjoyed this, was because to me it felt like it had that same kind of energy to it that some of the other stuff has been lacking.
I mean, yeah, like I said, like I have not seen much DC stuff. I mean, like everyone was already roasting the hell out of me that the only real DC stuff that I saw was like the Snyder movies, like Man of Steel, like Batman v Superman. And then like I did see like and the only other DC stuff I saw was like when Toonami had some of those like movie nights, like with the Batman and the Wonder Woman stuff and all that. Um, yeah, so like. But I mean, like, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Um, so I can't wait for season 2. Spoilers, Sam. Well, should I or should I not? Like, well, he's already seen it. Spoiler alert: they tease Brainiac.
Yeah, I
Like,
figured. That's a major fucking villain for Superman. For him not to be in the show, it'd be a fucking travesty. So no, it
I
makes
was,
sense for Brainiac to be in there.
yeah, but yeah. So I guess we'll move on to our next topic. So, this was announced a while back, during like San Diego Comic. No, like it was announced before San Diego Comic Con, but like
It was
we never.
announced during, I believe, Warner Brothers Discovery upfront that Adult Swim would take over the 6 p.m. time slot,
Well, like
and
it was first.
that's all that we knew at the time. Is that at that moment in time, like, hey, Adult Swim will be taking up more hours of Cartoon Network's time slot. They didn't
Because like the 7 p.m.
specify with
hour
what.
apparent.
Yeah, because their 7 p.m. hour did very well. And then I believe it was a few weeks later, they released a press release saying, hey, we now will be absorbing the 6 p.m. time slot.
I mean the
With
5
that
p.m.
time slot, no, because it was only announced to be 6 p.m. We never got an official announcement that it would be 5 p.m. until much later. So in the press release that they sent out, it was 6 p.m. and there would be this new block called Checkered Past. So they would be running 4 different shows: Dexter, Billy and Mandy, Ed, Ed and Eddie, and Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah, point is like a block of old classic Cartoon Network shows under the Adult Swim banner, um, which I just found hot damn, that was amazing. I think one of the other reasons that they are doing this was like when Cartoon Network had the 30th anniversary last year, and for like the month of their anniversary, they would have old shows playing in the 5 p.m. time slot, and they said like those did really well. So like essentially they're gonna keep doing that, but like now it's under Adult Swim.
Yep.
So yeah, and it came out I think 2 weeks ago at this point. And it is essentially a block of classic Cartoon Network shows that play for 2 hours. And so far, it's the same lineup. It is Dexter, Edda and Eddie, Billy and Mandy, and Courage. So I hope that they can eventually put more shows in there, like cycle through some, like Powerpuff Girls.
Don't expect
Um,
that.
Trying to think what else. Like I didn't
Here's
want
what I
to
think.
Johnny Bravo. Like
Here's what I think. This is the lineup. You're getting Dexter, Courage, Billy and Mandy, and Ed, Ed and Eddie. That's it. That's all you're getting for this block. Will they run out of episodes? Yeah, eventually they'll run out of episodes. But if they continue to do well at that 5 p.m. slot, they probably will not add more or will not care to add more. I personally view this block as filler for Adult Swim, so they don't have to say, well, we're going to air King of the Hill from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., which is fine. You know, whatever. That's their choice. That's what they wanted to do with the extra hours that they have been given. I appreciate that they want to do something different, but I also see this is a freebie from Cartoon Network. These shows do not cost anything for them to run. And because there is a new Powerpuff Girls reboot in the works, I don't see Powerpuff Girls rerunning on this block. Do they really want to like cross the streams there with Adult Swim's audience and Cartoon Network's audience? Because the thing is that they want to push merchandise of Powerpuff Girls to children. Why would we want to have this on Adult Swim when our audience is going to be with kids? I also don't see Foster's because there's a Foster's reboot. Technically, it's a reboot. It's more of its own thing, but I'm
it's
going
a
to put it in a
preschool
reboot.
show.
Yeah, but I also don't see that airing on Adult Swim because if it's since it's a preschool show, they probably do not want the original airing there and then like, oh hey, on this random network or streaming service, we have this Foster's reboot running and doing its own thing. So they will never have those two shows on there. I also don't even know if they'll even add Codename Kids Next Door. I know that they will not go back through the vaults. They're not going to rerun Cow and Chicken. They're as much as I would really like to see Johnny Bravo again on TV. I know they're not going to dig Johnny Bravo out of the vaults. I just know they won't. So this is your lineup. It's only Dexter, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Courage, and Billy and Mandy. You're not going to be seeing any more shows. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I know Cartoon Network well enough. Is like they haven't rerun those shows outside of a few instances in recent times. Like, of course, you're going to see Powerpuff Girls rerun more because they will sell more toys by doing so. But you're not going to see Dexter rerun that often on Cartoon Network outside of the rare anniversary occasion. You're not going to see any of those other shows. They haven't pulled most of those shows out of the vaults in years. They will acknowledge their existence and move on from it. And I expect Adult Swim to continue doing the same thing. They're not going to be pulling most of those shows out of the vault. Maybe they add Samurai Jack to the 5 p.m. hour, and I mean like as a vague maybe. It would just be like the early seasons of the show, but that's been associated with Adult Swim for years at this point. So
Wild card. Put Symbionic Titan on there, cowards.
I would
And
like
yes,
that. Somebody has to unwrite that off. Please do. Get Candy to make more, please.
well, Gendy said that he would love to, but someone has to want to write it off. Anyway, Steve, do you have anything to say on this checkered pass block?
Sure. It's gonna sound well. It's gonna sound funny because I hope work doesn't hear this. I work in schools, and it's funny coming home from these schools, and it's the shows I grew up with are now on Cartoon Network, just like I was as a kid. And it's definitely feels like this was more for like nostalgia for a reason, for lack of a better term.
Well, one of their
And-
promos literally says, "Cartoons to watch when you come home from work."
Yeah, and I feel like it definitely kind of does its job, when it comes to pulling in that nostalgia factor. I'm not going to watch Cartoon Network. I wouldn't watch Cartoon Network like 5 o'clock, these days. But since these shows, that I watched as a kid are now back, it does its job. It brought,
I mean,
pulls that
like,
nostalgia factor.
no disrespect to Cartoon Network here, but it's just like, and I know a lot of people have good things to say on the shows that they come out with nowadays, but I just personally don't have any interest in anything Cartoon Network puts out anymore. I stopped watching them since Adventure Time ended. Like, Adventure Time was the last show that I cared about. Well, technically regular show, but I never finished. I do need to one day finish a regular show because I never finished it.
I mean,
Adventure,
I absolutely, I loved Infinity Train. That was like my last real Cartoon Network show that I really
God,
enjoyed and loved.
I still need to watch Infinity Train. I still need to
You
watch
can find
it.
it in your local Pirate Bay. Fuck you,
So,
David
like,
Zaslav.
so like the last thing I cared about from Cartoon Network was Adventure Time, and I just realized I should have added this to the "What Are We Watching" pile. But I recently saw the Fiona and Cake show, and I was genuinely surprised that I knew that this was gonna be like a more adult oriented show, but Jesus Christ, man, like swears get thrown around, things get bloody, and then not only that, but it's also just like the subject matter too. Like it's one of those cases similar to what Toonami did and similar to what some other shows have done, to where it's one of those shows that decided to age up with its audience because like it also gets deep like in some of its subject matter because it's also it is like a sequel slash spin-off of Adventure Time because not trying to spoil too much here, but it takes place like years after the finale. Like Finn's an adult now. um I don't want to say anything about Jake because it's spoiler. um but like yeah, it's crazy. Like when I was watching it and then like when I saw Finn and like Finn's an adult with a beard and like and like a metal arm. I know he had that the original too. I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, like what the hell. Okay, I just went off topic, but point is, like, Cartoon Network nowadays, like, respect to some of the shows they got, but it's just like I have no interest in them anymore. But like, hey, I see Dexter, I see Ed, and I'm like, I'm there. I am there 100%. Anyway,
Really.
oh, sorry.
Really, but it's all right. Really, but my bottom line is, it does its job bringing that nostalgia factor, and it's like I said, it is fun. I work in schools, seeing the shows that I grew up with when I was in school, when I came home to see those exact shows on Cartoon again.
You want to know what's funny too is that like seeing those shows nowadays, there's some jokes made that you can't say today.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely jokes that flew over our heads when we were kids. Watching
it's funny.
Looking at you, Billy and Mandy.
Well, like it's funny you mentioned that because I was looking something up on it earlier, and they actually re-rated all 4 of the shows from their original. I think Dexter was like TVG, and
I
the
think
other
all
3
of
were
them were
LTV.
TVG.
They were like Y7. They're all rated TVPG now.
That's hysterical.
It's freaking amazing. Like example, I was watching like Ed and Eddie. Like one of the jokes was like, "Oh, Sarah, like I'm in trouble. Sarah's gonna tell mom, and then mom's gonna tell dad, and then dad's gonna sit home, like sit and watch TV." And I was just like, "Oh my god!" And then Billy and Mandy too was like, it was like the pilot episode they
Billy
gave.
and Mandy when it comes to these jokes that flew over our heads.
like the
Billy and
pilot.
Mandy is like
They
super fucking dark at times.
Oh, so true. It's like
like
specifically that show and Courage the Cowardly Dog. Like, damn, we really watched this as kids. This was
Yeah.
dark.
like 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 they gave the pilot episode of Billy and Mandy yesterday, and like the mom seeing Grim for the first time, thinking he's Billy, and then like she's screaming, and the dad's like, "Did you forget to take your medicine?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Oh my god, I relate
oh."
so much.
I was like, "Ooh." Anyway, Logan, what do you have to say on Checkered Past? I don't know if you watched it yet. I don't know if you've seen it, but
So yeah,
yeah.
I haven't seen it. Like, I mean, obviously, I've seen all four of the shows in little bits and pieces. I mean, Dexter's Lab for me was like the only one of the four that's on there that was like one of the shows I used to watch, pretty regularly. Mostly because the other shows came along when I was like, honestly, that was when I was like moving into like Toonami back in those days, and like so I think that's for me part of why the blocks like nostalgia angle doesn't quite land for me because I'm just a little outside of the sort of target demographic that they're going for. And
That's fair.
so like because that's the thing I look at. I mean, granted, part of the other problem is it starts at 5 p.m. and I don't even get off work till 5:30. But like the thing for me is in my head, you go, oh, a block from 5 to 7. Well, those were prime Toonami hours back in the day, for me anyway. Mm-hmm. So, it doesn't quite land for me from that angle. I mean, it's great to see, some of the shows back on, but like, of course it ties back into, so much of Toonami's history was anime that it's like, well, even if you wanted to do like once a week, do like a Toonami throwback block, you couldn't even do that because you'd have to relicense all that stuff. And how much of that stuff does Crunchyroll have? Which means it's, if we can't get stuff for the main block, good luck getting it for a nostalgia block. Mm-hmm. And, the only other show, it's like, when you're looking at some of the shows they can pull out, it's like, okay, what about IGPX? But are they really going to throw IGPX on a nostalgia block? I don't think so. Like, no. It'll perform on regular Toonami well enough, but I don't think it would hold its own outside the block. So, I love the name. I think the name is great. The idea of it's great, but I worry, like Sam said, as far as if they don't bring out more shows, which it's questionable if they actually will, how much life does this thing have in it? And, the one thing I did kind of, when you think about it, that's actually really interesting is while, the Checkered Past block is basically Adult Swim in name only, if you actually look at the hours that Adult Swim is on the air now, it has more broadcast hours than Cartoon Network does, at least, on paper, it's only by an hour, but, that
will by 2 hours.
From 5 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's
sorry, my bad.
Yeah. But I mean, regardless, like it's interesting that for all those years everybody was saying Adult Swim needs its own channel. Adult Swim needs its own channel, and anybody with half a brain would go, they don't have enough content to support an entire channel.
There's literally proof that it doesn't work. Canada has a 24/7 Adult Swim channel, and most of it is literally like I forgot. I know like most of it is literally
Teletoon, I think.
Yeah, like most of them are literally like Canadian made content, and only like a few of those hours are actual like Adult Swim stuff.
Right.
Like and maybe
and
some
that's
anime.
The thing is like it's Checkered Past again is it's Adult Swim in name only. I mean, it's a Cartoon Network throwback block, but it's aimed at the Adult Swim audience that would remember that stuff. So obviously, it makes sense to start at 5 p.m. and split the difference.
I mean, like good example. So one night, my brother called me. He watches Bob's Burgers. Like if he's watching TV and he sees Bob's Burgers on, he watches it. So one night he just so happened to be watching Bob's Burgers on Adult Swim. And I guess during that time they play like Adult Swim bumpers in between. They'll like the little text on the black screens. So one of the bumpers said, "Hey, on this date we're gonna start at 5 p.m." and we're gonna be playing all these shows. And then I got a call from him, and he was like, "Hey," I was like, "What's up?" It was like, "Did you know that like they're gonna be playing old Cartoon Network shows?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. How'd you find out?" I was like, "Oh, I was just watching Bob's Burgers, and I saw that they had that ad on there." And I was like, "Yeah, they are." It was like, "Oh, that's freaking cool," and that was literally it.
Yeah,
Because
I
like
mean,
my
like the biggest thing I think that also hurts it is just that the timing, because it's like, okay, yeah, great, it starts at 5 o'clock, but how many people get off work at 5 o'clock? And I mean, yeah, my commute from home or from work to home is like 5 to 10 minutes. Like it's not very difficult for me to get home in a hurry. But
well,
I get off work at
literally
5:30. Like how many people are in this target demographic of remembering these old shows? But we're just that, we're adults. Like we live in the working world now. I get home
yeah.
and I've got to make dinner. I've got to and yeah, granted, I have a second job. I have to get ready for working that stuff. But the last thing I'm gonna make time in my schedule for is, oh hey, I'm gonna go watch reruns of 25-year-old cartoons. Like it's it's a good idea, I guess, throw it on in the background kind of thing, but it's not really appointment TV.
Like for me, my shifts end at 6, and I live 10 minutes from my job now. But when I get home, I'm not turning on the TV. Like I'm taking a shower, and then like I'm having dinner, and like by the time I even settle down, it's already 7 o'clock. The block's done. The only times that I've seen it is when I have a day that I don't work, and it just happens to be on. One other thing I will say is that like the packaging seems pretty cool. Like they've had some unique animatics, like animations, and then there would also be like bumps of just the standard Adult Swim nature, but now you have Cartoon Network characters over those. So like those are pretty cool. Um, but yeah, like the thing is that like I saw a good point on Twitter. It's like someone said, "Well, can like I want this to do better," because like there has been multiple attempts at a nostalgia block from other networks. Like the biggest example is Nickelodeon. They tried like 3 times. Like the '90s are all that. Then there was like Splat and like all that stuff, and like those have had little care put into them and all that. So like how far is this gonna go, whatever. Um, but yeah, so like, anyone else have anything to say on the checkered pass block?
Nope, not really.
Not really.
Replace it with King of the Hill if you have to.
Oh god.
King
King of the Hill at 5 p.m.
Well,
mean,
they already do that. So.
well, checkered pass is only a Monday to Friday thing. So on Saturdays, they literally put Bob's Burgers at 5.
I mean, listen, at some point it's going to become Swim of the Hill or some, King of the Adults. I don't know what the fuck they're going to call it, but someday we're going to get the 24/7 King of the Hill network we deserve.
Yeah, and honestly, like
put Futurama, damn it.
My thing is like with Checker Pass, like this is neat and all, but nostalgia for most people kind of comes and goes.
I do have to agree.
Don't see this having. I just don't see this having long legs.
Yeah. How far can
like,
I do have to agree? Like how far can nostalgia really take this?
You have like multiple ways to watch these shows. You can buy Dexter, Billy and Mandy, Courage, and Ed and Eddie on iTunes. You can. I think they released some of them on DVD, although I don't think they've done complete collections. I think they did a complete collection for Ed and Eddie.
I think they did, but I think they omitted like one of the specials. Like it was either
they omitted a couple specials, but for the most part, like it's all there except for like the movie, which is whatever.
The movie is the finale, though. That's the
yeah, that's the thing. But whatever, I don't get it. You could also subscribe to Max. Those show. Well, Dexter isn't on there anymore. You can still watch Courage. You can still watch Ed and Eddie on there, and Billy and Mandy is still on Max as well. So if you have that service, you can watch it there. There's just many different ways that you can get those shows, basically. And Adult Swim is just providing it to the people who don't have streaming services or still has cable.
I will say though, one of the best things to come from this was I had no idea. Silver apparently never grew up with the shows in English. He's always seen them in Spanish, so it was his first time watching in English, and he had no idea that like one Mako narrated the credits to Dexter's Lab, so he was
Mhm.
literally screaming, "That's Mako! That's Mako! Mako did Dexter's Lab!" And it's like, yes,
Yeah,
why do you think he's
yeah.
Aku? And then the other thing was that he was so freaking terrified that Courage talked in some episodes. And he was like, this makes, like, I don't understand. Courage is talking. He's talking.
Yeah, and
As,
for some weird
Yeah.
reason, like the first season of Courage, he is a very talkative boy. Later seasons are just like, just have him point and just do whatever, I guess. It's funnier if Courage is more of a silent protagonist that talks maybe once or twice rather than just being the protagonist that talks way more. Wonder if that was a network mandate thing.
Yeah, I guess one thing I kind of failed to think about at the time was because we all know kids are gonna watch Adult Swim. They don't care.
Mhm.
These
yeah,
shows could
why do you think kids love freaking Morty?
yeah, these kids could be introduced to these shows like these shows could be introduced to a whole new generation, and we haven't even thought about that.
How
Hmm.
many kids are actually tuning into this, though?
That's the question. But
That's like
hey,
one
who
of the
knows?
other things. One of the other things
It's
they
like,
said is like,
are children really interested in watching old cartoons? Like,
well,
I'm one of those kids that loved watching old cartoons, but most I would kind of consider myself more of like that person who really just likes animation history. So
um,
I prefer like all forms of animation from across the globe,
well,
regardless of its age. But so that does not apply towards everyone. Like to the casual viewer who's coming home from school, they just want to watch something on TV. They turn on Cartoon Network and they see all these old shows airing. Are they actually engaged in watching it, or are they just going to turn it off and walk away and do something else? I
well,
don't
Well, and I
one
know.
of the
think
oth-
I
Adults
think
probably
there's a
have
big
these metrics
difference
more than I
in
would know. So
I think there's a big difference in the fact too, like when you look at like the early days of Cartoon Network, where the entire block or the entire network itself was built on a lot of older cartoons because it
it
was
was
all
like
they
old
had.
Hanna-Barbera stuff,
Right.
yep,
But the
Hanna
and
thing
Barbera,
too
MTM.
was like when it was created, you didn't have the ability to pull up practically, I mean, hundreds of shows at the touch
Mm-hmm.
of a button. Like you didn't have streaming services. You didn't have any of that stuff. So, okay, yeah, you throw on a bunch of old cartoons and yeah, it's like, well, there's cartoons on. I don't care how old they are. It's cartoons I'm going to watch. Now, kids today have a whole different like angle on, okay, yeah, I turn the TV on and yeah, this doesn't interest me. Oh, what's on Netflix that I want to watch? I mean, and the thing is, because I know that kids will watch older cartoons. Like my niece is 8 years old, and there's that CGI Garfield show that, from my understanding, is around a decade old, something like that.
Yeah.
She loves that show. Like she doesn't care that it's 10 years old, but the thing is, she doesn't have to watch it on linear TV. And I think it goes back to just we've seen how much the change in the media landscape has just changed watching habits for everybody, and it's true for
well,
kids too. She pulls up Netflix and watches Garfield because she doesn't care what's on Cartoon Network at 4 o'clock when she's flipping channels. No, she pulls up a streaming service and watches what she wants to watch.
yeah. So like they also said like I like because they were saying like most of the demographic that watches Cartoon Network at like certain times is like 17 and up too. So that's like one of the other reasons why Adult Swim's getting like more airtime because like it's not mainly kids that are watching Cartoon Network anymore. It's more adults. Like they did a study and it's like most of the people that watch like linear TV nowadays are like older people, like over 17 and up. Like it's not really kids watching watching like TV. Like I mean I don't have any like children in my family or like like it's hard to explain, but like the closest thing I have is like a nephew, right now. And they literally just give him a tablet, like one of those little kids fire tablets, and then he just has like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on there and just puts that on 24/7. But yeah.
Yeah. I do work with
I
kids for a living, as I've mentioned before, but I will say this is completely off topic. The amount of anime shirts I'm seeing now on kids is actually insane.
Oh yeah, well, thank God anime is like becoming a more mainstream thing. Like back then, people used to think that anime's for losers and all that, and then look at them now. Like to the point to where there's like references on movies. Like there was so like I didn't watch Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, but like I know there was a scene to where like one of the turtles is wearing a JoJo shirt.
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Listen,
there
Anyway,
anime's
was
still for
one.
losers. It's just that being a loser is more acceptable now.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally had a whole conversation with a kid about Attack on Titan. True story.
I mean, like, and I'm actually finally being able to show, like, I don't want to say like my family, but like my brother is more accepting of it because like he saw Naruto and then I showed him Attack on Titan. Like, my sister's more judgmental, so I only showed her like My Hero Academia because like that's like either that or Attack on Titan that her students talk about, and she don't want to see Attack on Titan, so My Hero it is. Um, but yeah. Uh, okay, I think we talked about this topic for long enough, so how about we
Yes,
move
we
on?
have.
Okay, so um, Superman ended. I hate so literally last podcast I said, oh, the schedule at the moment is Superman, Doctor Stone, Fooly Cooley, and like the rest. And I was like, huh. But the weeks leading up to Grunge doesn't add up if they plan on airing the other two seasons. So how are they gonna do this? And literally the day after we record the podcast, they put out the next couple schedules, and the way they handled it was they put marathons for both progressive and alternative. And I just hate that that got announced literally after we put out that, not even put it out, after we recorded. That's why I left a little meme in there. I was like, of course. Um, and I thought, I wouldn't get outdated again, but we did, and I'll get to that.
It's
I'll get to
tradition at
that.
this point. We
I'll
always
I'll
get
get to
outdated.
that
You know
later.
that.
Anyway, so we had marathons of alternative and progressive. I got reminded, you know, because seeing progressive again, I think like what hurt was like the first episode of progressive, specifically the first scene of that episode was amazing. It was like something fierce, like, oh my God, like this show is gonna look amazing. And then like the rest of it just doesn't. Like that first episode with that first scene with Thank You, My Twilight playing and like all this stuff happening, we're like, sheesh, like this is and I saw that and when Progressive came out, I was at MomoCon that year and they showed the first episode at the panel. So I actually saw that episode live at the panel and I was like, oh my God, this gave me goosebumps. And like when because Haruko shows up at the end of the episode one, and the audience was like cheering. They were like, "Woo, she's back!" and all that, and pretty much like amazing first scene and like a pretty good first episode. And it was just such a shame that the rest of the show could not live up to that. The thing I think what hurt was that I really wanted to like Progressive because like when they showed Progressive on alternative like in the trailers, I was like, I'm leaning towards Progressive. I like how Progressive is looking, and then that didn't end up working out. Turns out alternative was the better of the two, but not by a lot. So yeah, looking back at Progressive, I really wanted to like Progressive. I just couldn't. Um, and then alternative came out, and that one's the more interesting one. I mean, that one's getting a sequel, although it's funny because it's a prequel to Fully Cooley season one. So it's like, how are you gonna make a sequel of the prequel? Like, is it gonna be before season one still, or is it gonna be after season one? Like, what's the timeline here? But I'm getting off topic. Point is, Grunge came out. Like the first episode of Grunge came out. So here's our first impressions. It looks better than Black Lotus.
Man,
Not
that's such a low
hard.
bar to pass, though.
Not hard, sadly.
So I also want to point out that before the episode came out, um, there were some people that got early screen time, early screeners of episode one, and can we just say that Anime News Network just put out the most brutal
Oh my
review of the
god,
show.
Oh my
I was
god!
I was reading
I'll
that.
get
I was like,
into
oh
it.
my god, this person who's reviewing it is just like completely decimating the shit out of this. Like, holy
And
shit, dude.
we were
Yeah, like
all
I'll get
just
into it when I actually talk about grunge. But oh my goodness, that review! Wow.
we were just like, oh my god, we're so scared. This is gonna be progressive again, isn't it? Like, oh no, oh no. Like, we were just like shaking because it's like we're about to get disappointed, are we? First episode, I liked a lot. I liked it, and I want to keep liking it, but so far, I it does not stand out. Um, the CG looks good in some places. I kind of like the style they're going for. And sometimes when they're in motion, it looks really good. Like there's this shot of Haruko getting off the Vespa and like twirling a sword around, and it's like, you that looks clean. But then there are other times so where like the fish are coming out and they literally look like they're flopping around at 2 frames a second. Fish is voiced by Maki, by the way. Um, and I don't know, like you can't think too much with Fooly Cooly because it's like the whole thing about it is not to make it doesn't make sense. Um, well, you shut off your brain. I don't know, but point is, like, I like the first episode a lot. Um, I kind of at the time because only episode one is out, and I like Shin. I don't know too much about the other people though, like the girl with the purple hair and the thing from Fantastic Four, which apparently they're aliens, like from another planet. And I'm just like, okay, so I guess in this world, interplanetary travel is a thing. Which, speaking of, I kind of got a theory, but like, so like, my
It's an
theory is
anime theory.
in anime theory. Um, I think every season of Fooly Cooly takes place on a different planet. Like, because I know it sounds it's weird as hell, but it's like keeping
It's
like
fully
think about
cooly.
it.
Nothing. Everything's weird as hell.
Think about this. Alternative had a whole plot where there were like a bunch of people are moving to Mars because like the irons, and then like it literally ends with her opening like a freaking portal, and I think they're on that other planet because like the sky's different. And then think about this too, like in every season of Fooly Cooly, the sky is always a different shade. Like Fooly Cooly season one was more like orange shades and like maybe pinkish. Like Progressive was more blue skies and all that. Like Alternative was more orange skies and like tannish and all that. And then this show's like very orange. Like it also takes place in like a very polluted area because it's like they got flies everywhere and they only have one type of fish that they eat that they can make. Um, thing is that like I like it a lot. I hated seeing the freaking boss baby though in that show. Like I saw him and I just was like, please tell me he dies. Please tell me he dies. And I saw his head chop off and I was like, thank God. Like, thank God. Um so so like and one other thing, why is there so many penis jokes? I was like, the amount of dick jokes that the first episode alone has made. Like she kisses him and she's like, how's the head? And he's like, oh, I'm fine. It was like, no, I meant your crotch. And it was like, what the fuck? Did she just outright said it? And then like then like there's another shot to where he's looking at Haruko and she makes like a pose. And the thing on his head literally flops around like a dick. And I'm literally like, Jesus, not even being subtle. So I'm just like, okay, I really hope the rest of the show doesn't keep doing that. But overall, I like it, and I just want to keep liking it. Can the other episodes deliver? One other thing is can this show stand out? Like, can this actually stand out, because one of the complaints a lot of people have with the other sequels is that the original Fooly Cooly was made at a certain time with a certain mindset by Gynax and all that, and like it was essentially a once in a lifetime type of creation that can't be replicated. It has its own charm to it. So like the other sequels don't have that vibe. So like, can this one have like a distinct vibe? I guess I don't know. I guess that's enough for me. So Sam, what do you think?
So I watched it today. I guess like here's where I come from because I read reviews beforehand. So I read Anime News Network's review. I read Sketch's preview for the episode on Toonami Faithful, and I read Kevin's review on Swimpedia. And outside of like Anime News Network, the consensus that I got from it was it's fine, but it's nothing past fine. And I would tend to kind of agree with that. It's just okay. It's fine. I'm not like reading the Anime News Network review. You're kind of getting the impression of, oh god, this is just going to be a disaster, just a career-ending fucking disaster for this show. It's fine. Like, I like the fact that they went with a more stylized approach with CG animation because CG anime is normally bad, just normally bad. So
Take a
going with
look
the
at
style,
Black Lotus.
normally like, and even Black Lotus is not the worst of it, surprisingly. Um, I'm not thrilled with the CGI. Let me be very clear here. In some shots, it is very well animated, and others, it is choppy. It is very, very ugly, to put it nicely. I mean, ugly is a harsh word, I guess. It's not pretty at points. Also, like sometimes with like the character models, like they have like this weird protruding lip, like everyone's like protruding their
Yeah,
lip forward, and that was like really off-putting to me. Like I don't care for that at all. And I think it also, one complaint I do have is like I also think that the proportion sizes for the hands and hand models can be off sometimes. Like Haruko hands can be very normal in one scene, and in another, her hand had grown like 5 sizes for whatever reason. It's very inconsistent. Other than some annoyances, like I guess the first episode it's fine, but it didn't capture my attention. Like most of the time I would be looking at the TV watching it, and then I'd just be like, okay, I'm gonna be doing something else, I'll just have it on in the background as noise because it's not keeping my attention. I mean, I have my complaints with Fully Coolly Progressive and Alternative, but they kept my attention for better or for worse. So it's a wait and see on me if I will even continue it. Maybe I'll give episode 2 a try. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, like it's fine. You're just not gonna. For me, it's not something that I'm gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of.
okay. Steve?
All right, so I'll go into like at first because y'all don't get to see the comments that we get on our posts and stuff like that. And the response I got was, "This is going to be a terrible thing. Why are we getting this?" type of thing is like the response I got from like checking our socials daily, seeing what our comments look like and stuff like that, including the Anime News News Network review, just absolutely tearing this thing to shreds. And after watching the first episode, it was too harsh. Like, yeah, it was fine. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It was fine. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't, oh god, this is going to be the end of anime as we know it. It was fine. Did it catch my eye? No, not really. Did I have a good time still? Absolutely. And that's really, I think that really tells how I stand with grunge, because yeah, it didn't really grab my attention too much, but I still kind of enjoyed it in a way. I thought the CG was fine. I know a lot of people panicking over it's CG anime, and I know CG anime has a bad rep, but it wasn't, it looked better than the trailers. Even like some scenes, you know.
Oh yeah,
some
I will
scenes-
say this. The trailers that Adult Swim put together are fucking terrible.
Oh my
They put the show in the worst light.
Yeah, like some of the scenes we got in the trailer, specifically episode 1, and I realized looking back at the trailer how many scenes we saw in episode 1 in that trailer. Just thinking, oh no, it's going to be terrible. But you know what actually aired on Saturday was quite the opposite in a way. Of like, all right, those scenes were actually not terrible. It wasn't that bad. And I saw a tweet, I don't remember from who, saying that they threw a lot of info at us at once in the first episode, and I kind of have to agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the rest of the season's gonna sound weird in a way, like kind of like build up to what we saw in episode 1 in a way, if that makes any sense at all. Like, I don't remember the Rock character's name, calling Haruko Big Sis.
I think I get what you're going for. Is like, hey, this first episode is kind of more or less tie in with the last episode, sort of. Like we're gonna get more like intermedial, like in between things before the final one. If that's what I'm getting from your statements.
Yeah, and even like the episode 2 trailer alone, it kind of feels like they are kind of going that route. But yeah, overall, enjoyed it. Didn't really capture my attention. I actually have to continue it because someone's got to run the accounts. But
and I record Toonami stuff now, so
exactly.
I'll be seeing it.
Yeah, someone's got to recount and get the audience's reception. But yeah, enjoyed it. Nice little cameo from Maki being the fish. I know she was excited about that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
One other thing I do gotta say, apparently one of the actors who performed in this show, she recorded for this show and then not long after passed away. I had no idea. Like, apparently she's only like credited as like some extra voices, although they say that she has a bigger role in the last episode. So I'm really curious about that. But a lot of people were like mourning. I don't know if mourning's the right word, but essentially saying, oh, like, this was one of the last things she got to do, and like she really wanted to be in an anime, and this is her first and last anime. And I'm just like, oh Jesus, hopefully it's a good run. But yeah. Anyway, now we leave it to you, Logan. What do you have to say?
I mean, pretty much to echo what everybody else said. Like, it's fine. Like, do I expect it's going to reach anywhere near the heights of the original? No.
No, that's an impossible task.
Yeah. Based on the first episode, do I at least think, at least right now, it's more interesting than the other 2 sequels? Yeah, probably. I like the animation style. Like Steve was saying, it's there's aspects of it. Like, I don't know. It's so hard when you look at this, in the overall perspective of like what the original means to so many people and what they've tried to do with them. But I definitely agree with what you said. The ANN review was way too harsh. Like, I'm not even sure we were all watching the same show.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
100%.
Like,
and by the way, if my audio sounds terrible, I had to switch to my AirPods.
Not fine.
But yeah, like I don't know what show the reviewer was watching. It was not what we watched. Like, I'm sorry. That was way too hard on the show. Like, again, fine. It's not, it's not anything spectacular, but basically, was I entertained for 25 minutes? Yeah. It was interesting enough. The dub cast is great. Like, they've got a lot of great actors in there. There's absolutely no way that Shin is not some kind of reference to Shinji, because I'm sorry, he's listening to a Walkman at the beginning of the show. He's wearing a white, like, button-down shirt, and he's voiced by Casey Mangilla.
100%. Yeah,
like,
100%. You even got the voice actor of Shinji to play the character. I mean,
Yeah, like
okay. So you know what
it's
this
obvious,
means, right? You know what this means, right? We're gonna get the recreation of the hospital scene, and it's gonna be with that.
Lord.
It's gonna be with that purple haired girl. I know it.
oh,
Yeah, I mean, it
Christ.
kind of makes sense in a way when you think about it, because Evangelion was this really super complicated show that you really had to think heavy on, and then Fully Cooley came out like not long after and was pretty much the exact opposite.
Well, that's the thing is like I've honestly never actually been clear on like how much of it is just kind of fan conjecture and like being made up and what's actually like stated by some of the staff. But like if you look at the Gainax like overall production schedule, Fully Cooley was basically the next thing they did coming off of End of Evangelion. And I know fans, again, this might have been something that was flat out stated by, a producer or a director or somebody at the studio. I've never actually seen like concrete evidence of it, but it was basically like Fully Cooley was unwinding after the stress of Evangelion. And that's part of what made the original, if it's true, I think that's part of what made it so, so unique is it was literally just the team just kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what stuck. And
for sure,
it goes to something that we were talking about on Discord the other day, in that the sequels have unfortunately, try as they might to be, both a sequel and feel really unique, they feel corporate. In that, and the social media stuff echoes that. Like I constantly am seeing people going, who is this for? Who was asking for more Fully Cooley? And
I mean, have you seen our comment section?
Well, it's like to an extent, I get when they say who was asking for it. I can tell you a lot of people were asking for it. Unfortunately, that was in like 2002, 2003 when anime was still niche, but when we were just coming off the original Fully Cooley's release over here, and it was like the big hot thing. So it was like, of course, people wanted more. 20 plus years later, do we want more? That's a hard question to answer. And, of course, it was 10 times worse after we got 2 sequels that didn't really land all that well, unfortunately. And then they announced 2 more sequels. It was like, okay, fine. We asked the question of who wanted more, once before when we got the first 2 sequels. Who wants more after those?
Exactly. Like the big comment I'm seeing is, do we really need more seasons of Fully Cooley?
Yeah, and it's like I like that they're trying to experiment with the art style. Like, yes, it's not perfect. The CGI has its issues. That's fine. But I think, to their credit, it does, at least visually, it's a nice change of pace. Like, I like what they're doing with it. Could it be improved? Sure. But it's nice to see them going in some different direction to experiment with. But
I agree.
That kind of experimentation you could do with any show. You could do it with a brand new IP. Like, why does it have to be Fully Cooley?
Yeah.
To sell
I know.
more
Like
merchandise.
You say that, but like, what merchandise is there? Like, was there any merchandise?
There's figures and stuff, but
like, was there any
merchandise
of? But here's was there any merchandise of alternative and progressive aside from DVDs and like Blu-rays?
There was a figure of Haruko with and I think they did use it for the Blu-ray cover, but it was like highly cropped. But that piece where she's covered in paint and she's topless, there was an actual figure of that made, but that's about it.
I mean, the closest thing I have is I have a poster of Progressive that I got from MomoCon when they and it's signed by Jason Gill, Maki, and Kerry Walgreen. One of these days, I do want to put that in a frame and hang it because it's really nice.
The only thing I've really seen merch-wise from those 2 shows are just like records of like the music, like vinyl.
Yeah.
That's really it. Like limited edition vinyl, and that's really it.
I mean, here's something we can all agree on. No matter what, no matter how the show ends up being, at least we have new music by the Pillows.
Thank
Yep.
God.
That's definitely one thing that you can at least say.
Yeah.
And it's not like I hate to even compare it, but the live action Cowboy Bebop. They made such a big deal about Yoko Kanno coming back, and I mean we heard the results. Did it really matter? I don't know that it did. And that's definitely one thing where, regardless of the plot, the animation, any of that, the last two sequels proved it, and they're clearly sticking to it again here. And that was, hey, new music by the Pillows, and it was worth it. So yeah, credit where it's due there.
Like I said,
Yeah,
Progressive, the first episode of Progressive felt so different from the rest of the show, mainly because of the song "Thank You, My Twilight." I have that in my playlist.
The one thing you can never complain about with Fully Cooley is the music, because the Pillows, they just don't miss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
before we move on, I do want to point out, even 20 years after the fact, with Fully Cooley getting sequels now, it is harder and harder for these shows to remain in a relevant eye, because so many anime is coming out. I could totally see a sequel working 20 years ago, because there was not much anime being produced. There is so much anime coming out these days that it's hard to keep up with, even the latest stuff that's airing. So making more sequels, they have to stand out from the crowd. And while I appreciate these new approaches, it also needs to be of high quality.
So one thing I said in the last podcast that none of y'all were here for, and I don't, was that with these originals that Toonami is putting out, that they need to have, they just need to have one heavy hitter, because so far a lot of the originals that
What heavy
Toonami,
hitters have they had so far?
yeah, but
Samurai Jack, and that's it.
well, no, I'm not saying that they had one, but I'm saying that they need to have one, and that so far, they've been at best okay, and at worst pretty mediocre. Like I said this last podcast too. Hopefully, the Lazarus show with Watanabe might be that, or Uzumaki. I know a lot of eyes are on Uzumaki. But
yeah.
So
Even
I'll say this: I've read the manga of Uzumaki, and if they nail that, that could be a big hit for them. But that Junji Ito to anime adaptations so far have been terrible. So we'll see. Let's still wait and see for me.
I mean, they delayed it
right
several
now,
times for a reason.
Here's the thing, right now, because of Toonami's lackluster scheduling, these originals are the only thing that they're falling back on. And if they continue to come out being mediocre at best, then what am I waiting for when I could just go to other places for my anime fix? And it's fine and all, but I would assume that those guys at Adult Swim want Toonami to keep rolling. And to be fair, it will still be on. It will still be rolling. It will still be doing well for its audience. But I would like, the quality of their originals to be there.
Here's the important part. Hopefully some jackass at Warner doesn't decide to write these off.
Just like with the other originals.
To be fair, I don't think we're missing out on much by Blade Runner being a write-off.
No, nobody's complaining about that, but...
What about Fena, though? Or Shenmue?
Okay, Shenmue. I mean, honestly, while Fena wasn't the greatest, it goes through that same problem of you got to do something to stand out, which it didn't really do. But I guess the thing that I would bring in from an industry perspective, especially working with a lot of old stuff like I do at Discotech, the thing about something like Fena is, while right now it's not there's still there's still a cooling period for it, but in 7, 8, 9 years, I can guarantee you that people are going to be like, man, you remember Fena? Like, that show wasn't amazing, but I liked it enough. I wish I could buy it. And like, because honestly, that's how stuff like Lupin has worked out for us. That's how even something like IGPX, which didn't set the world on fire when it came out, but when it came back to the modern Toonami block, and then the Discotheque DVDs came out, like that, the show did a lot better because it had that cooling period, and like people remembered nostalgia for it just enough to be like, oh, I'd like to see that again. Like, was it the greatest? No, but I'd like to watch it. Now, do I think that'll ever happen with Blade Runner? Probably not. But I think honestly with something like Fena, it's unfortunate because I think that's something that could happen. And honestly, that might even happen with the Fooly Cooly stuff, where down the road, people are going to go, okay, yeah, it's never going to match the heights of the original. We all know that. Like, just don't even pretend it ever will. But at a certain point, will opinions get a little more favorable on it?
Maybe.
It might. It's honestly, it's hard to say.
All right. Well, anyone have anything else to say on Fooly Cooly Grunge? Okay.
We'll see. We'll see how we feel in 5 more weeks. Like,
we'll
yeah, agreed. Like,
we'll talk about the entire thing next podcast, because pretty sure it's going to be another 6-episode endeavor like the other two.
Yeah.
So like when next podcast rolls around, we'll have our overall say on it.
Like, will it continue to be just fine? Will it get better, or will it be worse? We'll in like 6 weeks.
Yep. So moving on to our last topic of the night. So I wanted to talk about this for a while. I know we had a lot to say on it when it first got announced, but I held off on putting it in the podcast earlier in the year because I knew it was only a matter of time before it came to Toonami. So
Hold on, hold the fuck on here. Hold on, bitch. There were points in the DMs that we were talking about this, and I was like, yeah, it'll come eventually. And you're like, nah, bro, it's not coming because Crunchyroll won't allow it. It's like, bro, it's
I wasn't saying that it wasn't going to come, but I was like, damn, it's taking a while. What the heck's going on? Is Crunchy doing something? Point is, I wanted to talk about this for a while, but I held off on it because it was going to come to Toonami at some point, and I was like, we'll talk about it then. And today's that day we talk about it. So, you know how we keep making jokes about Attack on Titan and quote unquote the final season, and then they just keep saying it's the final season. It's like 3 years later, and it's still the final season.
Final season, part 3, part 1, Alpha, Hyper, with Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts titles at this point.
When the day they announced this, we all just lost our minds because they said it's part 3. It is part 3 of the final season, and then they announced part 3 is going to be split into 2 parts.
They can't keep getting away with this. Yet they do.
I'll get into it more when I get my thoughts about it.
So the way that one other thing I do got to say, this was another thing that got outdated last podcast. I was so angry because I literally spent a good chunk of time last podcast going like, where is the Attack on Titan special? You would think it would come by now. It's been a while. What happened to it? And the day we upload that freaking podcast, they announced Titan Part 1, and I was just so angry because it's like our last podcast got outdated twice, like the Fooly Cooly marathons and Attack on Titan, and I'm so angry because like 2 whole topics just got outdated instantly. So, Attack on Titan Part 3, Part 1 It was insane. So many people were like, "What the hell is this?" It's literally like Kingdom Hearts names at this point. So the way that they're
Honestly,
handling,
as a massive Kingdom Hearts and Attack on Titan fan, I can confirm that.
so the way that they're handling part, quote unquote, part three, is that it's not going to be another romp of like maybe 10 to 12 episodes. No, they are two 1 hour OVA specials
I don't
that are
know if
gonna
the second one is going to be an hour. We don't know about timing because all they've just said that, hey, we're just doing 2 special parts. They're going to be
two
special.
specials. That's it. So we're like, huh, okay. But that also gave the question in the air of like, is this still gonna be on Toonami? Because TV episodes and specials are two different beasts. Example, we just had Doctor Stone season 3, but you want to know what they didn't air? A special episode of Doctor Stone that takes place in between seasons 2 and 3 that's important to the plot. They did not air that. And now there's a new character in the show that if you did not see that special, you don't know who this is. How did how did he get introduced? What the heck happened?
Gucci went
So
to his home world.
Wizard did it.
Yeah.
Wizard did it. So because of that, we were like, is Attack on Titan, is this special kind of excluded from like whatever contract Adult
No.
Swim had? And the answer is no. Like the thing was though, it's that it was so weird. They took their time on this. Like they sat on this for a while because like the actors long ago tweeted that they work on the special. Not only that, but then I made this realization. So there was a Toonami Better Cartoon Show promo that played back in June. Like I uploaded it. It was like June 2023 Better Cartoon Show. Um, and in part of that promo, there was a shot of like Naruto, and then there was a voice clip. The voice clip, it was someone saying "Dedicate your heart." And at first, because it played over Naruto, I thought, oh, it's probably Jiraiya from Naruto saying it or whatever. And then this special played, and Levi tells Hanji, "Dedicate your heart." And I'm like, wait, is that the same line? And then I go back to the June promo, that is literally the exact same line. That's not Jiraiya. That is Levi. So like that was like a subtle hint that they had this for a while, and they just haven't played it. They played it this weekend because we just had two shows end, so there's two empty slots. So why not fill that time slot with the hour and a half that this special is? So yeah, and what's even funnier too is just like this fucking company, man. I hate Crunchyroll, Jesus Christ, but it's like Crunchyroll is advertising English dub of Titan Part One. It's coming out on Crunchyroll September 10th. Yeah, just Crunchyroll. Like no mention of Toonami whatsoever. And it's funny because all the voice actors and like other accounts are picking up the slack and saying, "Hey, it's gonna be on Toonami, guys. It's gonna be on Toonami." But like literally, if you look at any official Crunchy press of the dub of Titan, none of it whatsoever mentions Toonami, which is just so petty. It's insane. Um, but I'm getting off topic, so let's actually talk about the special. Um, so when part two ended, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna wait anymore, and I read the manga. Steve knows this. I gave him my reactions. Boy, do I have a lot to say, but like, I'm not gonna say everything yet. I'll wait for part two. But
You know my
um,
pain.
so part one is essentially the gang dealing with Aaron's genocide because, surprise, surprise, the character we were following throughout the entire show was not the protagonist after all. He was the antagonist, and he decided to start committing genocide. Um, and boy, you see in the first part of the special, you see all that genocide, like to the point to where he literally tells two kids, "I am so sorry," and then you know why he's sorry because he knows he's going to murder them. Um, and then we pick up with the gang. God, like I'm terrible at like. Point is this special did a lot. I don't want to say that I'm happy yet because like we still have another part to go. But essentially, this special was all build up, and the true climax of it is going to happen in the next part, which we'll get there when we get there. But point is, and spoilers by the way for those who haven't seen it, Rip Hanji uh, went out like a champ. Um, Hooray! Armin finally got the bag. Too bad Mika can't get it. Um, uh, I don't know what else to say really. Because this whole special is just build up. Oh, I guess we can finally say that Rip Bozo by Flock. Uh, I don't really know how to critique this well, but like, the point is essentially this whole special is the gang now going out to stop Aaron, and it's them planning what to do when they get to Aaron. The special ends as soon as they get to Aaron. So like we'll see what they do in the next special, but like this whole thing was built up essentially for them to get to Aaron. I'm trying to think what else to say. Like the special's good. I'll say that. It is really great. Like they did Hanji's death justice. Thank God Flock's dead. Um, and yeah, just like oh Lord, a bunch of people being murdered. I was really hoping we could get Andre to tweet it just so it could be like, oh my, Aaron's doing a lot of damage. This show is still mid though. Uh, I don't have anything else to say. What about you, Sam? Because I know you saw it today.
I loved it. It was a great special. There's not really much to say. Like I like Attack on Titan a lot. From the first season, I really enjoyed it, to the current season that's still airing right now. So I like it a lot. It's a good show. Not much to say.
Steve,
Before I talk, let's just give a moment of silence real quickly. That is for Berhold, who lost his Titan and his girl to Armin.
Oh shit!
The majestic eagle gonna steal your girl.
But yeah, what hasn't been said that already has been said about Attack on Titan? It's great. It's a modern epic. It's one of the best shows we've had in the last decade. I'm really glad we still get it. Priority is I don't if lack of better terms when it comes to the English dub. When it comes to Toonami,
first right of refusal, I think it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
First right of refusal.
For
Yeah,
lack
first
of
right of
better
refusal for the
terms.
show.
I know like we were kind of concerned when the Crunchy thing happened of like what about the shows that they've had before? Are those all of a sudden gone? And like we've had My Hero season 6 and we've had
I
Doctor Stone season
consider
3.
those shows to
So,
be
like,
legacy shows and under existing contracts that Sony cannot break. So those titles
Yeah.
will continue to come to Toonami.
I just find it so funny that back in the day, Funimation used to advertise, "Hey, we got these shows that are coming to Toonami," and like now, like if any of those shows come to Toonami, they're silent as hell. It's insane. Like
But
they
yeah.
they just don't want to talk about it. But anyway, keep going, Steve.
But yeah, as you said, Sam, part one was, mainly build up and, parts of Aaron's perspective of, his quote unquote reasoning for doing a genocide.
Oh yeah, this is freedom, everyone.
Yes,
I feel so free.
Yeah,
as like a bunch as he's stepping over a bunch of corpses.
Yeah, we finally got that panel animated, the freedom at panel animated. Flock finally dead.
Rip Bozo.
R.I.P. Bozo. But yeah, low-key Armin and finally confessing to each other, like very subtly in a way, like terribly, but at the same time,
Mika says
least someone said
reaction.
something in a way. And of course, the big spoiler, rest in Tanj. She went out in lack of better terms,
In a blaze of glory.
In a blaze of glory. Like she went out a true hero. And of course, after she passed, that scene with just the past, captains and everyone who's fallen, who are in the scout regiment, killed. It's like it's been a while since I initially read it, so I don't remember my reaction exactly when I first read it. But yeah, it still hurts. I'm still in Spain without the S at that scene. But yeah, like you said, Sam, mainly build up to the events that are about to happen in part 2, and I cannot wait to see your reactions for part 2 because it is going to be something.
Now here's the real thing. Let's hope this is actually the finale and they don't go saying, "Oh, by the way, we got a special third part and that's where the true ending's going to be at."
Of course, that's like the fear.
No. They're going to do the EA thing, and the finale is going to actually be locked behind paid DLC. You just got to buy the DVDs.
Well, see, like that's what I was going to ask though, because like I know like the major plot beats for like leading up to the finale, mostly because I got so sick of waiting, and
yeah,
like
and
so that was the question I was going to have for those of you that have followed along in the manga is now seeing what part 3, part 1 here has done. Do you think part 2 is going to be enough to cover to like get to the finish line, or does it feel like based on the pacing that they might pull some shenanigans again?
I think it might finish it because
I was gonna say
there's not a lot left.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do think dividing it into 2 parts was enough to finish the story.
Well, like making it 2 specials instead of like another freaking core of like 10 to 12 episodes.
It would have been too long of a season in a way if they just did one more season. But yeah, I still have issue with like now we know the final season wasn't actually the final season. I still have issue with them calling it the final season when they did. Because now I'm seeing, people getting impatient with it, and people just want it instead of people, being excited for Attack on Titan. Now people just want it to be over, and that's not good marketing.
Yeah. So, Logan, what do you have to say?
Well, I mean, as if I guess my question probably, didn't hint at it. I haven't watched part 1 of part 3 or whatever the hell it's called at this point, mostly because like I got so tired of waiting for each of the pieces that like part 1 I didn't end up watching until it was completely done. Part 2 I finally watched when it had completely aired, and so part 3, despite being slightly longer in the 2 specials, I'm pretty much just sitting on waiting to see what would happen. Now, like I said, I know the major plot beats of how like it's going to get to the finish line because I got mostly sick of waiting just broadly. So I ended up,
that's why
myself.
That's why I read it, because after part 2, I was like, I'm not waiting anymore.
Yeah, and by the way, Sam, you're welcome from showing you the extra panels they put in the physical copy.
Now, here's a question. Will those get animated?
Good question.
But yeah. Yeah, I think they will finish it with the second part, which, hey, it's a good thing we recorded today, because today they announced that the second part in Japan, at least, is on November 4th. So
I'm hearing probably in early 2024.
Or maybe
I think that's safe.
Or maybe if the schedule's still lackluster, it's in December.
I think early 2024 is a safe bet. I think December 2023.
It's going to take a while to record all the dialogue in English and translate it, so it's going to take at least a good few weeks for that to happen, unless they can do a very fast turnaround. But
I agree.
Yeah. So, anyone else have anything to say on the Titan special?
I can totally see why they held off on airing it for so long. Probably because they knew the second special was going to air eventually. So why air it earlier in the year? Maybe it's one of those things where they were told by the license holder to just hold on to it. I don't know why. There might have been tons and tons of reasons why they were holding.
They might have held on to it
it's
because they were
definitely-
probably waiting. They were probably waiting for a good window in the schedule to do it. They aired this.
They had
like,
plenty of opportunities
after.
to do it during the summer. Just putting that out there.
Well, and the thing
Yeah,
is,
it's
didn't
like-
they
it's
announce
definitely-
today that it was coming? That the part 2 was coming in November. Like, didn't that get confirmed today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
it
said
did.
that.
It got confirmed
Do have
today.
contacts
As
at,
of
like,
the day of
Kodansha
recording.
and Pony Canyon.
Okay, yeah,
telling
I
them,
sort of
telling
spaced
them like,
that,
hey,
but
this
yeah.
is we're planning to have the second part released sometime this fall. Maybe they give them a little bit more of like an actual window time, but other than that, it's just like they probably are just like, look, how about you just hold on to it for the time being? We'll give you the okay to air it when we can.
Well, and the other thing is, this was something we were discussing on Discord the other night. Was one of the voice actors even commented that they hadn't finished recording lines, and with the fact that we now know that the special's not due till November, personally, based on most anime production schedules, I don't think they're done with it, which means they can't record lines because it ain't done yet. So the thing is,
sense.
like, the thing for me is, it's also possible that knowing what their production schedule was, if the Japanese side said, hold off on it, because if we find out, okay, it comes out in November and it airs on Toonami in December, like, the whole reason they might have pushed it out was, like you were saying, they might have just wanted to delay it to get it closer to part 2 for the dub.
Yeah.
I mean, whether that makes logical sense, questionable.
I guess we'll find out when we get near the end of the year.
Pretty much.
I wouldn't expect it this year. I'm just saying it probably will be January or February of next year.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, we're probably not getting it until like early 2024. Would probably be the soonest it would possibly come to Toonami.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. So, I do want to point out something though, because I was thinking of making this a topic, but the thing is, I've had this as a topic for the last couple podcasts already, and that is disappointment with the schedule. Because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but boy, they really we still are panicking at what
Yeah,
the
I feel like-
schedule was looking. They put
Panicking about the schedule at this point, just beating a dead horse.
like it. We all got so scared because they put out the schedule and it was literally like they didn't even have 230 on there. Like it was just Fully Cooley Grunge, 2 episodes of One Piece, 2 episodes of Shippuden, and that was it. And we were just like, okay, I think now's the time to start panicking. And like,
Yeah, I will admit that was the
Jason,
first time I ever hit the panic button when it comes to a schedule. I will admit that.
like, and Jason had to come out and say, no, the My Hero rerun's still there. So like, whoever thought it was a good idea to make the schedule thumb without 230 in there, shame on you. But even with 230 still there, it's just a rerun of My Hero, so we're still panicking. Like,
I really wouldn't panic.
I mean, like I've already said it multiple times. I just don't see any new anime coming to Toonami anymore. I just don't. I really don't. Like
I
we
saw
have not.
a tweet
Aside from original productions, I do like unless it's a pre-existing contract like with My Hero or Attack on Titan, I don't see a new show coming anymore. I'm at that point. I just don't. Not like
I go ahead.
the only like if I had to guess, there's only one thing that I could maybe think of that might come, and that's Zom 100, and that's because like Viz Media, like this is actually a show that's being distributed among every streamer, like it's on Netflix, it's on Hulu, it's on Crunchyroll. So this is something that Viz owns, that they 100% own, that maybe it could be on Toonami, like if Viz ever wanted to, or maybe if Adult Swim. But that's like literally the only thing that I could realistically see on Toonami. I used to hope Bleach would make it there, but Hulu exclusivity be damned. And I used to think maybe the Undead Unluck show that's coming out soon would also be possible, since that's TMS, and I know TMS has a good relationship with Toonami, but nope, Hulu exclusivity be damned. But it's just like being a Toonami. Steve said it earlier. Being a Toonami fan in 2023 is living in Spain without the S. That's all I have to say, because like I've already expressed my disappointment with the schedule for how long at this point, and it's just like at this point I just expect it, like if a new show ends on Toonami, that My Hero rerun ends, we get a third episode to ship it in. Like,
They're
I
not
don't
going
know.
to burn through ship it in. Here, I brought up this tweet from Jason DeMarco himself. He said this to a user, probably asking about, hey, are you guys even getting new shows or something? I don't know the full context of the tweet. No, we have several acquisitions that we are working out and should be closed soon. The
But
entire acquisition
wasn't
process.
that
Let me finish. The entire acquisitions process has changed radically in the last 5 years, and it's hard to get anything newer now. But these are, stay tuned. I think he might have had a little stalling error there, but I tend to agree with that. Well, he knows more than I do, because he's working with these companies to bring shows to the block. So
but here's
hear me out. He is clearly working hard and probably working in overtime, trying to like work with companies, not just Western companies, but probably also talking to Japanese distributors to be like, look, what would it take to get your show on our block, even if it's older? Because Logan, you've talked about this before, is that acquiring older content, it could just be a random thing of just like the Japanese company being like, yeah, we'll get back to you, and then you just never hear from them again.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely it. And it's, rights in general are a messy thing. I mean, like I've said before, discotheque, like we don't tend to go for broadcast rights. We just go for home video rights, and occasionally I think those come with them, but I don't, obviously I don't handle licensing, so I don't know, but I know some of our shows end up on like Retro Crush on, for streaming. So, and I mean, hell, even some of our stuff's ended up on Crunchyroll. So, there's obviously different, segments of the licensing, but like that's just it. Is a bunch of the shows we have now, like I very much doubt that the boss has gotten any kind of TV rights to them, because why? It's not a market he goes after. So the thing is, functionally, yeah, if Adult Swim wanted to go after an older show that we have and try to get it on the air, they could potentially, but it's also a matter of what are they asking, what's it worth, because older shows don't traditionally perform as well as the newer stuff. So it's all a balancing act. And it's like you said, when Jason says this stuff, he obviously is more in the know than any of us, because it's his job. I mean, even though he doesn't deal with the nitty gritty on a day to day, the fact is he knows how it works. And so when he says this stuff, like there's no reason to doubt that he's being sincere about it,
Yeah. I think that I don't know about the one show that they've been talking about. Like, no, we were still waiting on this one show that we can't talk about. It wasn't Titan. It wasn't Dr. Stone. Maybe that deal fell apart, because deals can just randomly fall apart, because these things are never finite until somebody pens and inks it on paper.
I don't know, like if he ever does another Q&A, I'm gonna ask like, hey, remember when y'all said that you had a show on the way around the time Dr. Stone came out? Like, what happened to that? I don't know, but like, oh, it's just like I said, being a Toonami fan nowadays is just painful. Just Absolutely painful. Like we got grunge now, but like double One Piece, double Shippuden,
You're
freaking
not going to see double Shippuden for long. I think by October they're going to replace it with something else because they do not want to burn whatever else of Shippuden they have left. So
well, you know,
you might get triple One Piece for a night, but you're not going to see double Shippuden for at least until October.
They could always bring back Boruto.
Oh God, please.
Lord, if they bring back Bort.
Well, you know, considering that we have a Toonami stream on YouTube at the moment that's playing in loop, we have Ghost in the Shell. Bring Ghost in the Shell. Like, I don't care if it's, you know, something keeps the block fresh at least. Like, they played it on the Toonami stream, so they do have it. Like,
It would be interesting to see if, because while there is a long exclusivity period in a lot of cases, a lot of Netflix anime has been getting home video releases, so it's not permanently trapped on Netflix. I mean, obviously Evangelion got it. I want to say it was what was that show? Carol and Tuesday, I believe, is the name of it. I think
yeah,
Sentai just announced a release for that. Like,
yeah,
there's
and
been a number of
Viz
Viz has been
Media,
doing. Yeah, they
Viz
did.
Media put out JoJo Part 6.
Well, yeah, they did. They did the Rohan OVAs. They put physical discs out for that, and then they just announced digital purchasable copies of the first half of JoJo Part 6, and so I think disc versions are probably not far behind. So the thing is, with how well Adult Swim works with Production IG, who knows? I mean, Ghost in the Shell standalone complex 2045, as soon as that can escape from Netflix, that wouldn't be a bad fit for the block. And, IG's friendly with Toonami, and, obviously the show has a long history with the block. So, I wouldn't rule that out once it can escape Netflix jail.
Yeah, but didn't you also say Netflix exclusivity goes up to like 25 years?
Yeah, so something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, there's some weird like contract shit with that, but that would be for streaming potentially. That might also be one of the things, and that might also only apply to certain newer shows. So like, because we're not entirely clear on what that all means, but it's fairly likely that it's probably just a streaming thing, because if that agreement applies to something like Evangelion, then why are they selling physical copies and selling, like, you can buy it digitally on like iTunes and whatnot? So it remains to be seen exactly what that 25-year window means. Like, we're just not clear on it yet.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even if it is streaming, like, Adult Swim wants everything. They want broadcast rights. They want to have at least it's streaming on its website. Like, they've made exceptions in the past for, I think, maybe one or two shows, but they much prefer, like, they have the whole shebang, which is why a lot of like streaming only titles that are exclusive to Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, insert service here, probably will never come to Toonami, because it's like, well, they want the whole shebang. Getting everything but streaming for their website is probably not really a worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah, I mean, it just, like I said, it just remains to be seen, because it also could end up being a thing where, because of the way they stream the on-demand stuff, there's contracts are filled with loopholes all the time. So, you just never know. And it's one of those things that we won't know until we see somebody end up, doing something that it's like, oh, okay, so they found a way to do that. Like, it's just the way it ends up going.
Yeah, point is schedule at the moment looks bleak. And we just don't know what will happen in the next couple weeks. We have Grunge, we have double Naruto and double One Piece, and My Hero rerun at the end. Maybe something will replace one of the Shippuden slots, because like Sam said, they can't keep doubling Shippuden forever. I will not be mad if double One Piece stays on for at least like a year, because we are coming to one of the worst paced arcs in this show. Dressrosa. It is 118 episodes long, and if we can at least keep double One Piece for a year, that would make that arc much more tolerable. Because Jesus Christ, like the arc is good, but it is really where the really bad pacing of One Piece happens. Anyway, I think we've gone on long enough. We're already over 2 hours at this point, so I think we can start plugging our stuff now. So, you can follow me on Twitter. I will be in deep cold hell before I acknowledge X. You
You can go
follow
to hell.
me.
I'm going to Toyotathon.
You just acknowledged
I'm
X.
going to Shelbyville.
You can follow me on Twitter at Samster299, YouTube Samster299, archiving Toonami stuff, and I have a little something special planned when I get to 1K subscribers. I'm close. I'm at like 820 right now. So yeah, YouTube Samster299, Toonami Squads. Oh wait, I'm also on Blue Sky now. Thanks, Stephen, for the code. I'm on Blue Sky. Same deal. Samster299. So Toonami Squad on Twitter, Toonami Squad on Facebook, Toonami Squad Instagram. Toonami Squad is now on Blue Sky. We have TikTok. Expired merch at Redbubble. I got to keep saying that. And you could also go to the website too. Now everyone else plug their stuff.
You can find me on ToonamiSquad.com, and I am also on Blue Sky at SC Universe.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter. I don't care what the billionaire calls it. It's still Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Estorso5. You can follow my Instagram also at Estorso5. You can follow me on Threads also at Estorso5. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Zenvest, which is with an X. And you can follow me on Twitch, which I don't really use anymore, but whatever. Also at Zenvest.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Schmolus1 or on Blue Sky at just Schmolus, no one. I actually managed to get an account without the one for once, so that was kind of nice. Yeah, that's pretty much about the only two places I use anything. So yeah.
Okay, so I guess this is another episode of the Toonami Squad podcast. We'll see you all whenever the next one comes around, probably when Grunge finishes and we have a more concrete look at the schedule.
Then enjoy the news in like the next day or two, because as usual, it's going to be, out of date as soon as this comes out. So, enjoy whatever news we get in the next couple of days.
Yep.
I guarantee that the day we upload this, there's going to be something like there's going to be something.
Probably an announcement of when Uzumaki's premiering.
Yeah, exactly. So enjoy that.
For sure.
Enjoy whatever they announce.
Or
yeah,
comes to Toonami. Oh wait.
Yeah. Anyway,
I had to get one in there. Come on.
Anyway, this has been another episode of Toonami Squad podcast. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good one. See ya.
Later.